So my family vacation got pushed back a week, which means I finally got time to finish Soul Hackers. Yay. I kinda wish I was on the beach right now, but whatever. I'll start off by saying this game is very unique among RPGs, even among other Shin Megami Tensei games. Uh, I don't know, it's just something about how all the minor details and strange quirks this game have just kind of pile on top of each other to make something just so strange and different compared to the rest of the RPG library out there. And I was kind of left with the feeling after I finished it that I'm never going to play a game just quite like this one, which is pretty impressive. The main thing that takes Soul Hackers away from the rest of the series is that it's more cyberpunk, whereas most other Shin Megami Tensei games take place in modern day Japan. So basically, there's this futuristic city that's been made by all these corporations called Amami City. And the thing behind Amami City is it's so futuristic because the internet connects everything. You know, everything's all connected in the Amami network and all that. And there's this kind of MMORPG virtual reality game that's being launched called Paradigm X. And the opening sequence of the game is actually your character hacking to get into the beta of this Paradigm X game. Now, where the main conflict comes into play is your character is part of this group of hackers, and they're known as the Spookies. And originally, they're just kind of hacking for fun and all that stuff, but they start to, dig into what these corporations behind Amami City are doing. And they realize they're doing some evil stuff, so they kind of want to go out and stop them. Of course, this being a Shin Megami Tensei game, you have a large amount of demons that you can summon, negotiate with to recruit, fuse, all that good stuff. You navigate Amami City through an overworld map, but then when you get to an individual place or building in Amami City, it becomes a first-person RPG. And to put it lightly, I know that's a deal breaker for a lot of you. Give it a shot. I mean, I know a lot of people say it even before they even try it, that oh hey, this game sucks because it's first person, I'm not going to buy it, and rah rah rah. But I think a lot of the hate comes from the fact that people have never actually tried these games just because they think they come in with a negative attitude. They think they're going to hate it just because it's first person. And I know a lot of people that thought, oh hey, this game's first person, it's going to suck. But then when they tried it out, they actually really ended up loving it. So, it might not be for everyone, but I think more people should give it a fair chance. One quick thing I want to touch on gameplay-wise is magnetite, which is something that's found only in older SMT games. And basically, magnetite is an energy source for your demons you get through random battles and fighting other demons. And if you run out of it, all the demons you have summoned start to take damage with each step until they're dead. And you never seem to have enough of it in this game. I mean, when I played Shin Megami Tensei 1 for the Super Nintendo, which I mean is obviously older than this game, magnetite was never an issue. I could always have a full party out. In this game, I could never roll with a full party. I always needed to have only one or two demons out, and then, oh hey, it's time for the boss, let's summon my full party. Which was really annoying. I kind of wish for the 3DS version of this game that they had either taken out magnetite completely, like the more modern SMT games do, or, they would have given you more through the random battles, but they didn't. Difficulty-wise, I'd say this is harder than Persona, but easier than most mainline Shin Megami Tensei games. Another thing about the difficulty, which I actually found really cool, was basically at any point in this game, you can touch the bottom screen of the 3DS, and a difficulty modifier menu will come up. It has a bunch of different options on it for difficulty settings and how hard you want to make the game. Basically, you can make the game as comfortable as you want it to be, and I thought that was really impressive. Mainly because you're not really penalized or rewarded for making it easier or harder. So, if there's a point in the game where you want to grind or get better equipment and you need the money, you could just lower the difficulty, grind a little bit on the easier difficulty, and then change it back to normal when you buy the new equipment and want to move forward. And I actually really enjoyed that, simply how you could change everything on the fly. I thought it was really cool. Now, unlike the average SMT game, there is no law, chaos, neutral, ending split. But your demon's alignments do matter. So, for example, if I have a chaos demon out, I can't summon a law demon. I can only summon a chaos or a neutral demon. And at first I thought I was going to change this in the difficulty menu to not even be a factor, but I stuck with it, and actually I think it adds a weird sense of replayability to the game, which I actually really enjoy. So I think on my next run I'm going to play with a bunch of the law demons, because this run I mainly kept to neutral and chaos demons. Now, even though there aren't any alignment-based endings in Soul Hackers, there are in fact two endings. The first one you get just by beating the game regularly. The second one you can only get by playing New Game Plus and meeting certain criteria during your New Game Plus run. I mean, I'd tell you what that criteria is, but it's kind of spoiler territory, so I'm going to let you Google it for yourself, so you can't blame me for spoiling the game for you. Now, moving on to the plot, Soul Hackers is very character-driven, which is something I rather enjoy. I think the characters were handled really well. One of the better characters in Soul Hackers is named Namisa, and she is a friendly demon that possesses your best friend Hitomi very early on in the game. Now, what's really funny though between the two characters is Namisa is really rebellious, whereas Hitomi is really quiet and shy. So you get these scenes where since Namisa is in control of Hitomi's body, she'll do something really like stupid or mean, and then Hitomi will be like, "Why did you do that in my body?" And it leads into really funny arguments. Also, only the main character knows that Namisa possessed Hitomi, so it leads to these scenes where Namisa will say something really mean-spirited or will make fun of another character, and all the other characters are like, "What the hell happened to Hitomi, and why is she so different?" And it's pretty funny. Now, in the game are these things called vision quests, and basically what a vision quest is a kind of a hallucination that allows the main character to experience a person's final moments before they die. Now, in each of the 3 vision quests, you play as a character that works for these evil corporations running Amami City, and they start to realize that, what these corporations are doing isn't right, and they want out. So it's really interesting to see how these characters try to redeem themselves in their final moments, and how they betray the corporations. And it's just really cool because you feel, even though they are introduced to you as evil, you feel really bad because you feel almost as if they got dragged into something much more sinister than they realized, and you just can't help but feel that their story is very tragic. Early on in the story, you learn that the group controlling all these corporations that run Amami City is known as the Phantom Society, and you kind of are told that they're this Illuminati type group that's secretly been running history and all that conspiracy theory, cyberpunk, mega corporation stuff. So what I really like about the Phantom Society is the underlings, or at least the lower level demon summoners in the Phantom Society, kind of just view it as a job. Like, they don't really take anything personally. Like, one of the first few bosses in the game that worked for the Phantom Society can actually be found later on as just a regular NPC, and the main character will be like, "Oh, don't you want to kill me?" And he'll be like, "Oh, no, man, it was nothing personal, it was just a job." And I always thought that was really interesting. Also, this is the first Shin Megami Tensei where we get a lot of, mythology and folklore based off Native American ideas, and I always thought that was really cool. I think Native American culture is something that fiction doesn't tap into very often, but in my opinion it's just as interesting as, Greek, Christian, and Norse mythologies. The only version of Soul Hackers out in English is the 3DS version, and the 3DS version is a port of the PS1 version, and it kinda shows. The interface is kind of rough around the edges. The full motion video that they play during some of the cutscenes is very pixelated, and on top of that there's some glitches. Mainly sometime during the demon negotiation, you'll get these weird times where the text will pop out of the text box and go off screen, which is kind of annoying. And then there are other times where the game will just freeze randomly during battle, but that seems to only be during the early sections of the game. I never had it freeze on me during the later portions of the game, so just stick with it and it'll be fine. And before I get a bunch of comments asking, no, the game freezing is not really that bad. It's actually pretty rare, so don't be too paranoid about it. But make sure to save often. Now, as much as I love Soul Hackers, I could not recommend this game to a beginner of the Shin Megami Tensei series, mainly because they don't really go out of the way to explain the mechanics of Shin Megami Tensei to you, and you kind of need to figure it out on your own if you haven't played a Shin Megami Tensei game before. And the modern games are a lot better in that regard, so I feel like to truly appreciate Soul Hackers, it would need to be someone's 3rd or maybe even their 4th Shin Megami Tensei experience. Now, that being said, if you are familiar with Shin Megami Tensei and you've already beaten a game or two in the series at this point, I'd highly recommend picking this up. Overall, I'd give Soul Hackers an 8 out of 10. After beating it, I can't help but feel that with a little bit more polish, this game would have been perfect 10 out of 10 material.